The PlayStation Portal hit the market on November 23, 2023. Its goal was to bridge the gap that many PlayStation players wanted, a dedicated remote play accessory that prioritizes the PlayStation 5 ecosystem first and foremost. While the world of handheld gaming has grown heavily in recent years thanks to systems like the Nintendo Switch and Steam Deck, Sony, they took a different path than others, one that has many people questioning it, including myself. Rather than delivering a standalone console that can natively run games, the PlayStation Portal, it's a companion device for PS5 owners. It does offer an interesting way to continue playing PlayStation 5 titles while away from the television. But the big question after I've done a fully vetted review of this device is it worth the money? In this review, I will explore every aspect of the PlayStation Portal, from its design and build quality, gaming performance, streaming capabilities, software pricing, and everything in between. At the end, I'll explain who I believe should buy it and who should not. I ask you to like and subscribe if you enjoy gaming news and gaming hardware and tech reviews. Now, one of the immediate things about the PlayStation Portal is its design. It's part DualSense controller and part handheld screen. Essentially, Sony's placed this 8-inch LCD right in the middle. It's flanked by two halves of what looks and feels like the DualSense controller on either side. Now, this integration of this controller, it's more than just an aesthetic. Those who, like myself, I love the DualSense. You will also get to enjoy that the Portal's handles, it fits naturally into your hands like the DualSense. It also has haptic triggers, buttons, and thumbsticks that all feel like you're using a standard PS5 controller. Now, the 8-inch screen, it rests right in the center in this panoramic orientation that it does aim to balance portability with the clarity. The Portal might feel a bit larger and longer than a standard handheld because of the extended grips on both sides. This is not a pocket device. You'll want to keep it in a carrying case or maybe a backpack if you're traveling, rather than a jacket pocket because it's probably not going to fit. Another design highlight is the overall weight distribution that I found. I thought this thing was going to be incredibly heavy, that I wouldn't want to hold it. But because the Portal's controllers are balanced around the screen, it doesn't tip forward or backward uncomfortably, and you can hold it for long periods of time. This is crucial for a device that's meant to be held for extended gaming sessions, whether you're on a bus or you're in a car driving or on a plane or just sitting in front of the TV. The triggers, it also maintain the adaptive tension from the DualSense, so when you feel like you're pulling it, maybe you're driving a car or shooting a gun, it feels just like the DualSense. It also has a USB-C charging port that's located at the top, which is an accessible location that keeps cables from interfering with your grip on the device if you decide to play it while it's charging. Now, the Portal's 8-inch LCD panel, it's 1080p Full HD with a 60 Hz refresh rate. While some might scoff at the absence of OLED technology, which I love because I have multiple OLED TVs in my house, it often yields deeper blacks and higher contrast. And the Portal's LCD display, it's actually bright enough for most indoor locations, and it has nice vibrant colors in most gaming scenarios, and I didn't find an issue with that. Since this device is strictly for remote play, the performance of the screen, it's actually intrinsically linked to the quality of your internet connection. So if your Wi-Fi sucks, you're probably going to see lagging or stuttering that no screen technology is going to be able to fix right now. In terms of the sharpness, 1080p on an 8-inch display, it's proven to kind of be a sweet spot for many handheld devices on the market. The text is very easy to read, and the games look pretty crisp. Sony has calibrated its brightness levels to handle an array of lighting situations, although direct sunlight, I found, it does kind of pose an issue. The Portal does include an onboard brightness slider that you can fine-tune the settings to preserve battery life and maximize clarity, but again, I had some issues if I tried to play it outside. One of Sony's biggest draws for the PS5 generation is the adapted haptic feedback and the trigger system on the DualSense controller. The big question I really had going into this is, how well are these features carried over to a PlayStation Portal as a handheld? My answer? Actually extremely well. The primary triggers, the R2 and L2, they do feature that semblance of the adaptive resistance found in the DualSense. So you feel that when the game does offer the feedback, like a slight tension for pulling on a trigger or the feedback of brake pedals while I'm playing Gran Turismo. The general haptic feedback rumble also replicates the DualSense approach. The feel of the Portal's triggers and vibration, it's actually miles ahead of most handheld systems, which allows you to dive deeper and deeper into why people actually like this device. Since the PlayStation Portal is dedicated solely to remote play from a PS5, the gaming performance, like I said, it's largely tethered to your console and whatever kind of Wi-Fi network you're on. There is no local hardware on this capable of running games natively yet, which does set it apart and give it kind of a con in comparison to the Steam Deck or the Nintendo Switch. Instead, the Portal streams your PS5's output straight over Wi-Fi. There are the ability to do things over the cloud, but you still have to be connected. Now, when network conditions are ideal, the Portal's gameplay was extremely fluid. It felt very reactive, and at times I often forgot I was actually streaming a game. The latency was very low, and the 60 FPS streaming, it held up very well in action games, driving games, and even some shooters. But it might not be perfect for those that want pixel perfect frame rates, especially if you're playing in an ultra competitive scenario. I do not recommend this device when you're playing some crazy tournament and trying to win. It's probably not going to be your best bet. But Sony has made it clear that the Portal targets 1080p at 60 FPS for most games, which I think is a pretty reasonable benchmark for remote play. Now, the caveat is that remote play, by its nature, it does produce latency, stutters, and compression artifacts if your Wi-Fi connection is not good. I found that the optimal performance requires a very stable Wi-Fi 5 or 6 network with minimal interference once I had it connected to those different variations. If you're trying to play on 4G or 5G hotspots, yeah, good luck. If you're setting the right expectations, and I think that if you have the right network infrastructure, this PlayStation Portal does offer a smooth extension of your PS5 library, whether you're on the couch, in an airport, or most hotel rooms. I say most because some of the Hilton hotels I've stayed at while testing this device, there's something on their network that prevented me from being able to connect my Portal. It was extremely annoying. I tried all kinds of different things, and yeah, wasn't happening. Now, the Portal's interface, it follows a stripped-back version of the PS5's UI, and it gives you quick access to basically your recently played titles, library, and even the PlayStation Store. However, you cannot install new games directly onto the Portal. Everything has to go through the PS5. The Portal, think of it this way, it's simply a mirror. It's using everything that's on your console, and you get to stream the gameplay. If someone's in your living room and you're playing the Portal and they turn on your TV to where the HDMI is set to the PlayStation, they're going to be able to see what you're doing. Another notable limitation for some is that the lack of local apps or additional streaming services on the Portal. Some people want to be able to download Netflix or YouTube onto their handheld devices, and you just can't do it on this one yet. The process of setting up the Portal is pretty easy and straightforward. You just sign into your PSN account on the device, you pair it with your PS5 in a matter of minutes, and after some quick network checks, you're ready to start playing. You do have to make sure on the PS5 that the remote play is enabled in the settings. One of the Portal's cons, in my personal opinion, is it does not support Bluetooth audio yet. Instead, Sony introduced its proprietary PlayStation Link wireless technology, and I'm sure it was aimed at ensuring better latency and clear voice chat for those who utilize, well, their headsets. So this means you cannot pair standard Bluetooth headphones or speakers directly to the device. You either have to rely on built-in speakers, or you can use wired headphones via the 3.5mm jack, or, well, use a PlayStation headset. I'm not really a big fan of this. I actually like customer choice, and so I wish that they would open it up so that any Bluetooth device could be paired to the Portal. Now, the stereo speakers on the Portal, they're actually pretty good. Now, they won't compete against like a home audio setup or high-end gaming headsets, but they're pretty solid for a handheld device. When discussing handheld devices, battery life, it often is the deciding factor of what you're going to purchase. According to Sony, the PlayStation Portal, it can run for about 7 to 9 hours on a single charge. However, I noticed I could get about 6 to 7 hours and then I needed to charge. So there does seem to be some wiggle room there on what they say and what I actually got out of it. It does depend on screen brightness, how loud you have the volume, and, well, the intensity of the haptic feedback that you have set up. Charging is handled via a USB-C port at the top of the device. You also can continue playing while it's plugged in. I got to see that charging takes about 2 hours if you're at 0 and full, so depending on the power adapter you use, you can expect it to be about 2 hours. Now, PlayStation Portal is priced around $199.99 US dollars. It's not exactly cheap, especially if you compare it to streaming-based competitors. However, I took into account that a standard DualSense controller alone retails for roughly 70 to 80 bucks. And you're also getting an 8-inch screen plus the embedded remote play technology. So personally, for me, I found the price to be reasonable for what this device does. If they tried to charge $300, I would probably say no. Still, it's important to know that the Portal, it can only do one thing right now: stream your PS5 games. If you don't have a PS5, well, the device has absolutely no function for you other than you can stare at it. By comparison, spending more on something like a Steam Deck or a gaming laptop, it might give you that broader range of functions, but if you're solely interested in the PS5 ecosystem, I do think the Portal, it's a pretty unique accessory. I want to talk about a few more cons here before I go to some of the pros. One con is the lack of 5G or cellular options when Wi-Fi is not available or when Wi-Fi is absolutely horrendous. While it's possible to tether the Portal to a mobile hotspot, there is no built-in cellular connectivity in hotspot. Well, if you've used it, you know it's not always effective. So for on-the-go scenarios, this means relying on that awesome public Wi-Fi, which not everyone believes in decent internet. Some gamers, you might have hoped for like a standalone solution here that connect anywhere without the extra steps, but if you are expecting that, it's going to leave a little bit to desired for, at least at this stage. Also, the Portal's restricted software means you can't install any third-party apps directly. While that might keep it, simple, it does limit its function to remote display only for PS5 games. So, again, if you decide to get this device, just know it is an accessory to the PS5 only right now at this stage. Another consideration I kind of took in is how well is the Portal's streaming capabilities going to be as some of these titles grow more sophisticated. While streaming technology, it is continuing to improve, internet is getting better in some cases, game sizes, performance demands of these games, and the complexities, they are becoming beefier and beefier. Some of these games now, holy crap. I mean, some of the file downloads are like 250 gig. It's insane. But I guess since the heavy lifting is done primarily by the PS5 itself, the Portal's job remains primarily to handle just the input and output streaming. So it will be interesting to see where they go in the future, as there are some rumors, I've kind of heard them myself, of a new PlayStation 5 coming that has PSSR integrated, but that's not here yet. Sony hasn't confirmed it, so I'm going to hold off on anything until they confirm it. Now, ultimately, who should buy and who should not? Well, it depends on your gaming habits and your lifestyle. I think that you should buy this. It's a pretty good deal if you own a PS5 and you can afford it and you're committed into the ecosystem already. The Portal, it can be great for allowing you to just pick up and play in bed or on the couch while maybe your wife's watching Young and the Restless or Love is Blind or some stupid show that you don't want to watch. You don't have to lug your console into another room, take up a TV. You can just play there right on the couch. Also, if you travel frequently with strong internet access, well, it can be pretty cool. If you're often away from home like myself, I do use the Portal quite a bit. It's a pretty good way to keep up with gaming without having to tug my PlayStation 5 through airport security. If you've been through airport security, you know what I'm talking about. But just know that if you do not have good internet, you're going to experience lag and probably other performance issues. So again, there are some hotels and Wi-Fi networks that the PS5 Portal, it just doesn't do well with. I don't know if it's on their end to prevent you from joining or some type of the Wi-Fi integration within the Portal itself. I really haven't been able to figure that out. My final thoughts on the PlayStation Portal is this. It's a niche product, and it's one that fits comfortably within Sony's strategy to really enhance what its offerings are from the PS5 ecosystem. It doesn't try to be everything for everyone. It specifically is targeting gamers like myself who want a dedicated device to keep playing PS5 games while I'm away from my house. Sure, I would love for it to do more things, but right now, it does do what I need it to do. Ultimately, I've enjoyed my time with the PlayStation Portal, and so have my two kids. I will continue to utilize mine, and I do hope that this review helps you to decide if you're on the fence about getting one. Now, if you enjoy gaming, tech, and hardware reviews, Make sure to hit like and subscribe with that bell button checked to get notifications on when I upload my videos every single week. Thank you guys for watching. Be cool to people.